Well, the big story for Canada's economy today is a disappointing jobs picture. In July, more than 40,000 jobs were lost. And in particular, we're seeing increased signs of challenges for younger Canadians who are trying to get into the jobs market. Travis O'Rourke is the president at Hayes and joins us to talk a little bit more about the trends that he's seeing. It's always good to get your analysis, Travis. We talked to a lot of economists about the data points, but what is the challenge here for young Canadians who just want to get a job right now?
It's a few different stories, and you mentioned earlier about that youth group is kind of that 15 to 24. I'll kind of break it into two.
Okay.
So if you look at the 15 to let's say 20, the students that are still at school, some of them are returning. They're really struggling right now because whether it's a retail store or some of the seasonal work, those companies are trying to hold back money and stop spending. The second thing you've got that group is dealing with is there was a huge influx in obviously new Canadians over the last 12, 24 months, and everyone is battling for a paycheck. So if you've got students who are only going to be here for a short window of time, and you've got newer Canadians that can work any shift over 4 or 5 months, maybe even into the winter, a lot of people are investing in that group, which is an entry-level job, but doesn't show up with youth. The second group that you've got is those who are recent graduates and they're battling for those entry-level jobs. So they're also going up against that group of new Canadians. But the newest thing is AI. And if a company can automate those entry-level roles, if they can use those repetitive tasks, have a computer do it, they're going to do it. And I think a lot of this economic uncertainty has given CEOs and executives almost a free pass to go into AI heavier than they were going to.
Really interesting. And then I guess there's like this big block of people who are still gainfully employed.
Yes.
And you see even in some of the survey data from Stats Canada that when they're asked about their job, that they feel pretty good about the situation. It's just getting into the job market, which is a challenge. Because companies, they might want to use AI, but they're also, still running businesses that need people. It's just the trade uncertainty, I think, and maybe the AI thing have just sort of left them on the hold side of things for bringing new people on.
Yeah, and I think we're in a decent place where we're not seeing mass layoffs.
Because if that was the case, we'd have more questions about people paying mortgages, people spending, and people have talked about a resilient economy, sort of.
That's right. Now, why this data today is to me particularly worrying is the losses that we are seeing are not related to trade tariffs. I think we're going to get hammered next month. So the job losses that came this month were construction, information, recreation. The traditional kind of trade impact is going to be felt in warehousing, transportation, manufacturing, and that didn't happen. So I feel like the data that we're going to get in September is going to be alarming when we look at some of those trade impacts.
Interesting. And I literally had a conversation this week with someone who is involved with schooling for the trades. And by the way, we have tons of job openings in the trades that we can't fill.
Yeah.
We have a skills gap there. So I guess if we're trying to sort of, we've got a new prime minister, he talks about a lot of nation building. We've got an unsettled sort of situation with the US, and everybody's trying to sort of put these sort of pieces on the board together that will help Canada for the long term. What can we be doing to make sure the job market stays robust with all of these forces at play right now?
Construction, when you see the construction jobs data pull back this month, 25,000 or so, we've got a homes crisis, as in we don't have enough. We've got an affordability crisis, they cost too much. And we're not building. We're actually laying off construction workers. So if you look at Vancouver, Lower Mainland as an example, they need to build 45,000 homes a year. We're building 23,000. You've got so many municipal fees and provincial fees that are holding developers back. We're not even hitting that 70% minimum pre-sales threshold. So you've got developers saying, I'm not building. You've got people saying, I can't afford to buy homes. And we really, really are looking forward to this September 17th interest rate.
And I do have to come back to the trade story for just a second, only in the sense that, we had this August 1st deadline, whether that was a deadline or not. But, you keep hearing, let's get the best deal for Canada. But in the stock market, regardless of what the terms of a deal are, just moving on is something that people generally like so that they can literally move on. So if there is a pause point, whether it's in, regulation's one thing in construction, but is the lack of sort of trades, is there a case to be made that just getting on with it, figuring out some kind of trade relationship with the U.S. so that companies can't say, we don't know where things are going, so that we can actually create some jobs is sort of a possible recipe for the economy?
I think that's exactly it. No one likes uncertainty. You know, we've seen guests on your show talk about that all morning. We just need some clarity. And we saw in January some of these traditional, warehousing manufacturing jobs pop up because people were rushing to beat the first trade deadline.
Right.
Now this month, we've got transportation going up 23,000, rushing to meet this trade deadline. So when we get this August jobs data, I'm really, really worried these tariffs are going to impact us in September.
Okay, Travis, thanks very much. Appreciate your insight. Travis O'Rourke of Hayes joining us.